Today, we're digging into one of the absolute weirdest objects in the history of astronomy, Messier 40. Now, you hear Messier object, you probably think of a stunning galaxy or a glowing nebula, right? Well, this one's just two stars. So how in the world did it get so famous? Turns out, it's all because of a centuries-old mistake that took some of our most advanced science to finally unravel. So yeah, that's the big question we're going to tackle. In a universe packed with black holes and exploding stars, how did a couple of pretty ordinary stars in Ursa Major get their 15 minutes of cosmic fame? It's this incredible story of mix-ups, a lost object, and a scientific cold case that took, get this, over 200 years to crack. All right, so to really get why M40 is such an oddball, you have to know about the list it's on, the Messier catalog. Back in the 18th century, this French astronomer, Charles Messier, was obsessed with finding comets. And to stop himself from getting tricked by all the other fuzzy things in the sky, he started making a list of them. Things we now know are amazing galaxies, nebula, and star clusters. That list became like one of the most famous in all of astronomy. Okay, so on the left, you've got what belongs in the Messier catalog. These incredible, sprawling things like the Andromeda galaxy. And then on the right, you've got Messier 40. Just a pair of stars. It isn't fuzzy, it's not a galaxy, and it definitely doesn't look anything like a comet. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. So how did it even get on the list? Well, the story starts with a classic case of mistaken identity. It's a real comedy of errors that kicks off way back in the 17th century. See, Messier wasn't just randomly scanning the skies. He was also trying to double-check older observations to make his catalog perfect. And that is exactly where the trouble started. So the whole mix-up begins in 1680. An astronomer named Hevelius jots down that he saw a fuzzy pair of stars. Fast forward about a century, and Messier goes looking for it. He finds a couple of stars in roughly the right spot, but he even notes in his own log that there's absolutely no fuzziness, no nebulosity to be seen. Turns out, he wasn't even looking at the same stars Hevelius saw. But I guess for the sake of being thorough, he logs his finding anyway. And just like that, the mistaken entry, Messier 40, was born. Now, you'd think that'd be the end of it, right? A weird footnote in a famous book? But nope. This is where the story gets even stranger. After being incorrectly added to one of the most important catalogs ever, the object, well, it basically vanished. For almost 200 years, M40 was a ghost. Some of the greatest astronomers, including the legendary William Herschel, looked for it and found nothing. It became a phantom entry in this super famous list. I mean, how do you lose a simple pair of stars? The case went completely cold until 1966. That's when an American amateur astronomer, a guy named John Malus, decided to crack it. He went all the way back to Messier's original notes, recalculated the position, and finally, pinpointed the exact pair of stars Messier had seen all those years ago, HD 238107 and HD 238108. The lost object was found. But you know this story by now. Finding the stars didn't end the mystery. Oh no, it just kicked off a brand new one. Now that we knew what M40 was, the next question was a big one. Are these two stars actually partners? You know, a real binary system orbiting each other. Or is this whole thing just a cosmic coincidence? And this brings up a really important idea, the optical double. This is what happens when two stars have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They aren't gravitationally bound at all. They just happen to line up perfectly from where we're standing here on Earth. One could be hundreds of light years behind the other. The new mission was to figure out if M40 stars were true companions or just strangers passing in the cosmic night. The first real clues dropped in 2002. Astronomers started tracking the stars' tiny movements across the sky over time. It's a thing called proper motion. And what they saw was that the two stars were moving away from each other in straight lines, not orbiting. But, and this is a big but, the measurements just weren't precise enough. The range of possible error was huge. The case was still wide open. In fact, a quote from the research paper that year pretty much sums it all up. Quote, "The possibility still remained that the stars could form a wide physical binary." So even with the new evidence, they just couldn't be 100% sure. The mystery lived on. For more than another decade, the case just sat there, unsolved. But then a new detective showed up, one with the power to finally deliver the smoking gun and settle this thing once and for all. And that detective was the European Space Agency's Gaia satellite. Gaia is an absolute game changer. It was launched in 2013 with one main mission: to map the positions and distances of over 1 billion stars with just mind-blowing accuracy. If anything could solve the M40 mystery, It was going to be Gaia. So, how would Gaia do it? It uses a super cool technique called parallax. You can actually try it right now. Hold your finger out in front of you. Now close your right eye and look at it. Okay, now switch. Close your left eye and open your right. See how your finger seems to jump against the background? Gaia does the exact same thing, but it uses the Earth's entire orbit as its two eyes. By measuring that tiny wobble, it can calculate a star's distance with just incredible precision. And here it is, the verdict. The Gaia data was crystal clear. One of the stars is about 500 light years away from us. The other one, it's over 1,000 light years away. They are nowhere near each other. They're not even in the same cosmic neighborhood. So the case is officially closed. Messier 40 is not a binary star system. It is an optical double. Two completely unrelated stars that, by pure chance, happen to line up in our sky, fooling astronomers for centuries. So after all that, what is the legacy of this famous mistake? Well, it's just a fantastic story about how science really works. It's messy, full of errors, corrections, and a whole lot of persistence. It's a great reminder that even in astronomy, history is written by people. And you want to hear the perfect, ironic cherry on top of this whole story? When the astronomers who used the Gaia data to finally solve the mystery wrote up their findings, they submitted it to a scientific archive. And the initial response they got back? Their paper was rejected for being too trivial for publication. You know, call it trivial if you want, but people have been curious about this object for over 200 years. It took a cutting-edge space telescope to write the final chapter, finally putting a definitive line under one of astronomy's most charming and long-lasting puzzles. It just goes to show you, even the small questions are worth answering. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? M40's fame was born from a simple human error. It really makes you wonder, what other quirks, oddities, and famous mistakes are just sitting there, tucked away in old scientific records, waiting for the right tools and a curious mind to finally tell their story?